Welcome to another episode of Techology. If you haven't subscribed yet, you need to go to YouTube and click in Techology, and you can check out all the rest of our videos that we've been putting together. Today we're going to talk a little bit about soil science. Behind me over here we have a really nice ginormous excavation that they're doing on some new construction here at the school. A lot of people are familiar with excavation equipment, but they might not be familiar with soil types, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So Cassie here is going to help me with some of these. So I don't know if you can see this. This is basically when we look at soil types, what we're looking for is when they dig the excavation and they're thinking about putting people in there, we have a couple choices. One of them is if we soil type it, then we can either slope or bench the soil out at an angle so that employees can get in there and we don't have to worry about a cave-in. The only way to do that is to understand the soil types. The second option is you can put a trench box or some type of a metal box in there to protect them, and we don't have to worry about it caving in so much because they're protected by this actual box. But first soil type that we have today, you can look at it. When you go to squeeze it, it just kind of busts up. And what we're looking for in the soil types is how cohesive is it. And this is actually all the way on the other end of the scale. It's very granular in nature. So when you go to squeeze it just to check it, that actually stuck together just a little bit. But most of this has got a lot of sand in it. It just kind of falls apart. So it's not very cohesive at all. If it's on the side of an excavation and you build it very steep, it's going to want to cave in on people. All right, Cassie, let's look at another one. This one here is kind of in the middle of the road. It's definitely more cohesive than the first soil type. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to do one of the soil tests that we can do. It's called a thread test. And on the thread test, they try to get it really, really small into like a thread. A little bit less piece. This is actually pretty cohesive. So it sticks together, and we keep getting it smaller and smaller to see how much it'll actually stay together. So that one's actually, that's pretty good. So you think this is just dirt. You could tell that this dirt, you look at it from the thread, the way that it looks, it's relatively cohesive. So since it'll make a thread, kinda, it's falling apart a little bit, but you can see how it's starting to break up. So it's kind of in the middle of the road. It's obviously got more clay, more cohesive soil, which is clay in it, but it still tends to break up once we get it into the ribbon test. So it's a little bit more in the middle of the soil types. Our last sample, thank you, Cassie. This sample is very cohesive. And when you look at it right off the bat, you're gonna think, you bought this at a store. But I did, and I went all over the place following people around when they were digging, trying to find good dirt samples. But this has really high natural clay content. Came down from around the Bixby area by where my house is at. We'll take a piece of that off. But if you look at this, when I go to make this one into a ribbon, I mean, it is so cohesive, it doesn't crack at all. So a thread, the thread test. We're looking at a thread test. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to take it, oh, there it goes. Eventually it's going to go in it. We're going to go ahead and do another test called the thread test. The ribbon test. And on the ribbon test, we're actually going to squeeze it all the way flat and let it roll over my finger. For natural soil that comes out of a ground, that's pretty cohesive. So what that would mean in an excavation or in a trench, when we have the trench, we could actually make those walls a little bit more up and down, and it would still be safe because the soil sticks together. Anyway, just a little bit about soil science. If that's something that piques your interest, we do excavation training for employees, competent person and awareness level here at Tulsa Technology Center. We'd love to have you out, and you will learn all about dirt and a whole lot of other stuff like that too. Thank you, Cassie, my assistant. Thank you all very much for paying attention. And if you haven't done it yet, go click on that and make sure you subscribe to Techology. Thanks a lot.